What's going on, everybody? You're here with another KayFabeyBaby, the NRW Ring Generals Podcast. We're down to only two handicap match today. Is myself, Webster Style, and of course, I'm joined by the voiceover king, Sean Mongo. Sean, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. Ready to go. Ready to talk.
Well, it's weird when we talked last week, and we'll probably talk about this in the next show. I totally forgot about No Mercy. The NXT paper, like, it totally skipped my mind because we only talked about WrestleDream. So let's get into that. We'll talk about No Mercy and other stuff later because we got a lot to talk about, man. So we just had WrestleDream, and with 0 Hour, we had a couple of matches. We had with Keith Lee, was that Zoe Starks? No, Zoe Starks.
Billy Starks.
Billy Starks, yeah. Zoe Starks is a whole nother company. Versus and Athena, and they defeated Mercedes Martinez, Diamante, Lee Moriarty, and Taylor. I forget Taylor's name. Shane Taylor. That's right, Shane Taylor.
Yeah, no, that was a great match.
Yeah.
I mean, this just a lot of the matches on 0 Hour, man. Like their pay-per-view heavy, like, you know what I mean. Like they could have been on the main card.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is something I've been kind of saying for a while. Like Athena I don't know how Athena's still on ROH, because right now ROH kind of feels like the NXT of AEW, like the developmental now is like what Tony Khan's kind of made it. And I feel like that's where he's putting like the women's matches on, you know, and experimenting with them to see what kind of, I guess, draw they get. I don't know. Everyone's like so obsessed with like numbers now and things like that. But Athena's just so good. Like this whole gimmick, like this minion gimmick with Billy stuff, like it's just so good. And I don't know how she's not on the main roster of AEW. Like they gave her that stint with Jade, and then they immediately shoved her into ROH and gave her the championship. And I understand, like, maybe she wanted a belt. She wanted a good run. They didn't want to ruin Jade's run. And I guess at the time, I can't remember who had the women's championship at that time. You know, it was probably, I think it was Jamie Hayter. So they didn't want to ruin her, her spree. So it's just like, you know, I hate those like opportunity, like it's just the wrong time. You know, it almost feels like because they're trying to develop the story for someone else, whereas someone else who's hot is like right there, but like they would kind of ruin the story that they're trying to build with the other person. You know what I mean? And it sucks, you know. But I think she's enjoying herself.
Oh yeah.
And then,
that's one of the things I love about it, and I agree with you. But then on the other hand, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because she would not have gotten the sort of time she needed for this whole evolution of her character if she'd stayed on the AEW main roster.
Yeah, she probably would have got lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's only one women's match per show.
Exactly.
For whatever reason.
And they are doing a very good job, based on what I've seen of RH, of really elevating her character. And she's done a good job, and they've done some good storytelling over there. So yeah, it's sad, but it's also, I think it's a blessing that she's getting the shine. She has the title. She's able to have some good matches with that title and to tell a good story while holding that title as well.
Yeah. And I, you know, like seeing her, like, I don't know if you saw, but the big highlight for me in that match was her hitting the Eclipse on Lee Moriarty. And that was just, I love that fucking, I love that move. Like, it's so good. Ever since she had it back in WWE and NXT, like, it's just been like such a fun move. You know what I mean? It's like a McTwist DDT off the top rope. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a skateboard move and a fucking stunner, like all in the same motion. So it's really fun to see that, you know, happen. But yeah, and also I like, you know, I want to see more of Keith Lee too, you know, like on AEW, like, you know, you could have Keith Lee going against Miro, against Hobbs, have when Wardlow comes back, you know what I mean? Have him pick up his thing with Swerve. They're pushing Swerve to the moon.
Yeah.
So much opportunity.
Yeah, so much. They have so much talent there. I know you can't push everybody, but just they're not booking a lot of people well, and they've squandered so much potential. And Keith Lee is a prime example of that, in my opinion.
They're wasting time on certain people, and we're going to get to that later.
Okay.
But I just want to keep moving along. You have any other thoughts on this match?
No, I'm good. Let's go to the next one. Claudio Castagnoli versus Josh Barnett. So he defeated him.
Yeah.
You know,
One quick question before you get to jump in. That was one of the few mixed kind of tag matches I've seen them do. How do you feel? Like, do you want to see more of that in AEW, or like intergender? Like, I mean, I would love to see more like them dive into the intergender thing, like to be the first national TV wrestling show to do the intergender thing. I know it's probably going to be met with a bunch of fucking skepticism from like the casual viewer, but like they can do it well. Yeah. Like, how do you feel about that?
If it serves the story, I'm perfectly fine with it. And I think that's a lot of times, and going back, and this isn't necessarily this, but when why did I forget her name?
China?
No, not in China. What's her name that said the N-word and got basically banned in wrestling? Blanchard.
Oh, yeah. Tony Blanchard's daughter. What was her name?
Tessa Blanchard, right?
Tessa.
That whole thing in Impact, when she ended up winning the world title, people didn't like it, but you know what? They told a good story. They told a good story with her winning the title and then defending. Like, they told a good story. I cannot be upset with something like that when they tell a good story. If they just do some crap like when WWE had that special intergender thing for Facebook, there was no point in that. That was just for, hey, we got a content partner, let's create a show, something broad-based, get a lot of people eyeballs on it, don't normally watch wrestling.
Oh, yeah, that mixed tag, bullshit that they did back in the pandemic.
There was no rhyme or reason with that. And it doesn't fit the story. I don't really care. And that's wrestling in general. But if it fits the story, I don't care.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, next up is Claudio and Barnett. What do you think of that match?
Slobber knocker. And you know, it gets to the point like Josh Barnett, you know, he's what, the MMA dude, came over, but he also trained with Antonio Inoki. That's also what we forgot. They did a big tribute to Antonio Inoki at the beginning of the show. And they obviously did the thing. They did the thing where they were like, "Oh, this is the grandson," and they cut to Christian Cage, which they're killing it with that, and I love it. But obviously, you know, Barnett had a close relationship with him, and kind of like passed the torch. Was like, "Oh yeah, he would be so proud, and like you would be one of his boys and one of the guys," and that was great. Honestly, the best part about that match, and I hate saying it because I don't want to discredit them, they were amazing in the ring. It was Jon Moxley, man. Jon Moxley on the commentary had me rolling. My man, I was just like, man, when he first came out, I was like, I wonder if he talked to Renee to get some tips. And no, he did not. He did his very own thing, and it was great. It was so funny. Like, get that son of a bitch. Like, it was just so golden. It was so spot on. It was so Moxley, you know, and it was like, that's just who he is. You know, outside of like, you know, when Chris Jericho commentates, you know, he acts like a commentator. Like, he still kind of does, like, plays up whatever character he's playing a little bit, but like, he's a commentator. Moxley just came out to be Moxley.
Right.
And it was great, you know. But yeah, they you know, they hinted at like another match or whatever like that. And like I said, it was a slobber knocker. It was a good match, like good in-ring, you know, fucking acrobatics, good ring, fucking good spots, you know what I mean? So it was fun to watch. And I was really surprised because it was like that was kind of like a last minute add-on.
Yeah. That's what I told you.
It was like a couple days. Yeah, it was like I don't even think we talked about it in our predictions. No. It was that kind of last minute. But I was pleasantly surprised, you know.
I agree with that one. For me, I'm thinking there's nothing wrong with the match. I just thought a Claudio match, especially considering he was just the RH title, is like, it's kind of, especially, it's a high profile match in many respects. And the fact that it was on 0 hour, I'm just like, man, one, you can look at it this way, man, kind of how the mind are falling, but two, this is such a stacked card that a match like that is on 0 hour.
Yeah. I mean, Moxley was paying that up, was just like, man, like, you're getting this caliber of a match
right
on, like, for free.
Right.
So like they definitely played into that, and like, I think it fits. Like, yeah, it was thrown together, but I mean, the whole thing with BCC is like they just like to fight.
Right.
Like they like to fight people. They like to get like the respect, from other warriors. And Josh Barnett is very much a warrior from MMA, trained with, Inoki. Like, so it's just one of those things.
Right. All right. Next up, we have a match that plays into some things that happened later on tonight. Luchasaurus versus Nick Wayne.
I mean, yeah, it played into the storyline. They had his mom there,
right,
and everything, and they did the whole, him like reaching for his mom for help and this, that, and other. They really played it up. That was the sports entertainment bit of it. And he came out there and did a couple of cool spots, but I mean, he obviously got manhandled. Right. If it wasn't for like the end of the show, there probably wouldn't have been a point to this match, in my opinion.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because I kind of felt like this is weird, because I think they ended off 0 Hour with that match, I think, if I recall. And that was kind of weird. I thought Claudio and Barnett should have ended it, but that's neither here nor there.
That would have been a good lead in.
Yeah, but obviously, like, the same reason why the main event was the main event is because now we know what happens. Obviously we're spoiled, but like at the time I was just like, wow, I was like, why is fucking Christian and Darby main eventing when you have so many other like high profile matches that are happening?
Yeah, you thought
it was a little weird, and like that's how I kind of knew. I was like, something big's happening. It has to be fucking Edge. You know what I mean? Like it had to have been, because otherwise, without Edge, that would not have been a main event match.
No, not at all. Not at all.
At all. Nothing to take away from them, and like Darby puts on a hell of a show. Like as bored as I am of Darby, like he puts his body on the line. He puts on an amazing show.
He does.
And he does crazy shit, for our entertainment. And I fucking respect that. But yeah, without that main event, this match would have made zero sense.
Right. I agree.
But since it all tied in, this match made sense in a way. We'll get to that at the end.
Right.
But, we'll touch on that a little bit later at the main event.
All right. And last up for 0 Hour, and we'll run through this pretty quickly. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass defeated TMDK.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the last match on 0 Hour. I forgot about that one. Yet again, last minute kind of throw together match. I think they had cut a promo on Dynamite the week of. Because yet again, I don't think this was in our predictions.
Right.
But I mean, it was a match. You got to see Daddy Ass in there. You got to see them scissor and this and other. Nothing really memorable stuck out to me about this match. You know what I mean? I love the Acclaimed. I still hold a little bit of a chip about House of Black losing the titles. And I want to see a better story.
Yes.
And right now there just isn't. There isn't a story brewing, it seems like. You know what I mean?
I agree.
But there are other upcoming trios that I would love to see, get that spot.
Right.
Like when I wish the Dark Order had a little bit more of a build-up and a little bit more of a story. Because John Silver, like he had me entertained when they were going against each other. He was like, I looked up scissoring and you're doing it wrong. Like he's just so funny and he's on it. The other two, John Silver is right there,
right.
little meat man. But I don't know. Like they always throw them as a one-off. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, it was a match.
I agree. All right, let's go into a match that I was very surprised with the ending, and that's MJF versus the Righteous for the RH Tag Team titles.
Why were you shocked?
I don't know. I just felt like this would be a good excuse for them to take the belts off of, especially since Adam's going to be out for a while with that ankle. But I was shocked that the Righteous won. It was an entertaining match. Excuse me. I'm shocked that MJF won. and the Shock the Righteous didn't, especially since it was a handicap match. However, I think overall it was a good storytelling. It was a very entertaining match, and I like the fact that MJF won. That in a way builds up the AEW champion even more because he won a handicap match versus one of the best tag teams in ROH for the ROH titles.
The white boy with dreads shit had me fucking dying. So MJF came out, man, when he fucking went in on them, like he's just so good, man.
He is.
I don't know how he got so good so fast, and I don't understand it, but man, he is just so fucking entertaining, you know. And it's like I don't know, man. Like he can't do anything wrong at the moment. Like he gets the crowd behind him. He, you know, like you're a scumbag, and like people fucking eat it up. Like he's still like this heel-ish character, but a baby face is such a weird mixture that's never been really done before. And it, you know, it's kind of reminiscent of like the anti-hero kind of anti-authority, you know, baby face that, you know, The Rock was at one point and Stone Cold obviously was throughout his career. But at the same time, it's more of a you know what I mean? Like he still is a scumbag. He still calls them, like the crowd, the pores. You're my pores. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's such a unique
He's
thing.
A scumbag you hate to love, but you love him anyway.
Yeah. And it's like, but anyway, like, you know, he went out and he's doing this thing. Like his thing right now is just like calling what he's going to do. Right, the kangaroo kick, the double clothesline, and this time he was like, "I'm gonna body slam this big motherfucker," and you know, and then I'm gonna take white boy with dreads, tie the dreads up in a bow, and shove it up the big boy's ass. And then like the whole match, you're waiting for it, and he builds up to it. You know what I mean? And like he's just so good at it. He's so good at storytelling in the ring. And that wasn't even like a long-term story. Like he literally just mentioned it as he was walking out. And then everyone's chanting, you know, fucking, you know, power, body slam, body slam, body slam. You know, like it's just so crazy. Like the shit he did with, you know, shithead, Jay White. There it is. The shit he did with him and was just like, you know, like, oh, tofu, like he just gets things over. It's so unique. But anyway, the match was amazing. You know, great storytelling all the way through. It was the right ending, and I don't know if you picked up on this, but at the end of the match, he grabs the tag titles first, and then he's holding them on the apron, and the AEW titles behind him on the other apron, and he's just focused on the tag titles. He doesn't even like go like to pick up, like someone had to bring the title to him. So they're really playing into like, you know, like he really just wants a friend. You know what I mean? Like he was bullied and like he really wants a friend. So it's just like that's an extra layer of it. And like that just all makes me believe that like Adam Cole is going to betray MJF. You know what I mean? Because you're showing so many layers to MJF right now and how vulnerable he is with this friendship. Like he's going to have to get fucked over.
Right.
And it's just like these small little subtle things. Like just like he was just like holding on to both the titles and like, I got it, Adam. I got it. You know, we're good. You know, and it's just like he thinks the titles are keeping them as friends because he thinks as soon as he loses the titles, he loses a friend.
Right.
You know, so I love it. It's great. That's great. It's great storytelling. And I don't know if people picked up on it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, it's interesting though.
Yeah, that's just like that other layer, you know, to telling intricate stories.
Right. I can't wait to see how that turns out, especially how they write the story with Adam being out for injury and however long that takes.
Yeah. Question for you. With Dynamite, obviously someone attacked Jay White with a devil mask.
Right.
Who do you think that is?
I haven't the foggiest, simply because I know a lot of speculation was Adam Copeland, and we know that's more than likely not the case considering what we know now. I don't know. I am really at a loss, especially considering sort of storylines that Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold have been in. I couldn't think of anybody who would have put that mask on and attacked him.
The only thing I can think of, well, obviously people are just like, oh, it's Bullet Club from New Japan, which that's a stretch in my opinion. I honestly think it's Kyle O'Reilly with Roderick Strong and old boys the Kingdom, and then Adam has no idea, but Adam sees it and thinks that it's MJF, trying to cheat again and not be a wrestler and trying to fuck up his opponent.
Yeah, Carlos been out and
for like a year and a half.
Yeah, and as I was thinking, it's about time, at least based on what they said before, for him to come back.
Yeah, so I think it's Kyle O'Reilly.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting way, like the Civil War, like the fight for Adam. So I'm curious. We'll see.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear the MJF insults to Kyle O'Reilly. Like I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
We need Bobby Fish back because I would love those insults too.
God, that like, you ancient motherfucker. Like, how old are you? I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. I don't give a shit about Bobby Fish. He's a piece of shit.
No.
He can stay on.
I agree. I would just love to hear the insults.
Oh yeah, totally.
Feel they were Bobby Fish.
Totally. Like I would, if he wasn't a piece of shit, that'd be great to bring like the undisputed, era back or whatever, or and then have that be like the true like Adam decision. Do I pick my old running crew or do I pick my new friend?
Right.
Because right now it's just Roddy.
Right.
Neck strong. That shirt is killing me.
That's hilarious.
Like throat goat. Neck strong.
Speaking of strong, let's go to Kingston versus Shibata for the ROH World and NJP Openweight titles. And let us not forget that I was surprised that the ROH Pure title wasn't up either. It was just for Kingston's titles. Man, this match was something else.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I think also Moxley came out for this match too to commentate, which yet again, dude's hilarious. But yeah, I get kind of bored with these matches. I'm kind of one of the few, like, I love Eddie Kingston. I love him on the mic. I love his character. I love his promo work. I get bored of these chop fests.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, I don't know, it just doesn't showcase a lot of skill. I know it takes skill, right? You know what I mean? But like, I get bored of it. Like this was still entertaining. Like they sold it very well. Like they played it out very well. They played out the pain. Obviously, they're getting really fucking chopped. I mean, Shibata's fucking chest was blood red in like 3 minutes. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I just, it was still entertaining. Like I was sports entertained by it. Obviously, Kingston won. Shibata, I really want to see Shibata get more opportunities. Because I just like he's phenomenal. Yes, I think. I agree. And and he was hitting the fucking submissions and shit like that. And if it was pure rules, he probably would have won. But Kingston won, and yet again, I think this was just like a thrown together match. I don't think this really serves a purpose, and I'm kind of confused at how they're two, like, I don't know. I feel like their championships are falling into this weird category of not having stories. With the ROH title and then the strong title from New Japan. I mean, it's not AEW's title, but like the ROH one is, and so is the pure title. And like, there's no story. There's 3 belts involved, and there's no real story there. It was kind of like a Survivor Series thrown together, a champion versus champion kind of ordeal. And then I feel the same way about the international championship. Ray Phoenix was in a in a tag team 4-way, thing later that night. So it's just, I don't know. It's just really weird. it didn't make sense. It was a great match. I still love the fuck out of it. You know, Moxley was amazing. You know, just this commentary was hilarious. I can't get over it. He's like, oh, I got fines. I gotta calm it down. But it's so funny.
All right. So next up we have arguably one of the best women's matches I've seen from them in a while. Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart.
The one match we got for 5 hours. Man, I don't know why Saraya was on this fucking card, man.
You know, I was thinking of like, okay, why wasn't the women's champion on this card?
Bro, I don't fucking know. And that, you know, that's a whole different dilemma, not a dilemma, a whole different thing for me is I don't understand why Saraya is champion. She's not fighting every week. I don't think she can. I don't think she wants to. No. So I don't know why she got the fucking title. There's no story. And I don't know. But anyway, back to that match. Yeah, it was great. Julia has been on this win streak. The intros are just fucking great. Fucking having Brody as the valet, like it's just so good. You know, just having like this big fucking grizzly behind you, just like being like essentially just your valet. Right. You know, I love that. You know, and it was a very good match. There was one really bad botch by Julia. And it wasn't recovered. Like it was quite clearly a botch. But I mean, that didn't deter them. You know, they still kept going. And it was an amazing match. I wanted Julia to win, you know, like to keep this streak going. You know, she's young, give her like, let it push her, you know, give it a story, bring Gold back to the House of Black, you know, bring them back together as like a celebration to bring House of Black back together because all of them have kind of been taking time off and whatnot. Like, I thought that would be like a really cool story to tell, you know what I mean? And we didn't get it. We got Chris winning again, which I don't know. I'm having trouble getting behind Chris as champion. There's just no character.
I agree.
There's no character.
I thought that Chris would retain, and I think I said that in our preview, but I wanted Julia to win. I love in my mind what her holding that TBS title would do for the title, specifically because of the presence she has and the whole experience of the House of Black. That would bring a lot of eyes to that title. The pageantry of the House of Black would make that title seem even more important.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And I think there's Chris, while no disrespect to, you know, what she's doing and the kind of work she's putting in, they give that title a lot of shine. And the only real importance of it was Jade and her win streak.
Yeah.
And once that happened, the title, they haven't really built prestige on that title, in my opinion. No. And they've tried to hard, especially with Jade. And now they're doing similar stuff with Statlander as well.
It's kind of hard to build prestige when the title gets made and it gets put on one person, and that one person is undefeated and goes in this crazy streak. I think Chris Statlander is the second person to hold the title.
Yeah.
Outside of Nyla, because she stole it from Jade. But yeah, it's hard. And then when you don't have only but one fucking match every show, women's match, it's hard to build anything.
Yeah.
It's hard to build any story with the women on the roster. And it's fucking ridiculous. Like, there's no reason to not have both champions fight at a pay-per-view, to have at least 2 matches. You know what I mean? And I felt like the Willow Julia storyline was great, and I felt like there could have been more to it if Julia would have won the belt,
right? And
that could have picked up even more and gave Willow some shine. You know, I just, there was so many things you could have done, and like Chris Statlander has nothing. I don't see the story. I don't, and I don't think they have a plan. I think they just were waiting for so long to put the belt on Chris. They just have it on Chris, and that's it. And now they're just going to have her have a couple good matches no real story. And I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for Mercedes. Maybe that's the next big thing. And they don't want Mercedes going against Saraya just yet. So they have Mercedes get the fucking TNT belt and have a good run. And then, maybe put title versus title at one of their big pay-per-views.
I don't know, but they need to do something fast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Personally, simply because they have windows of opportunity and they are squandering them.
Very
to
much.
do something really special with this title.
With all the women.
Yeah.
Like this is a good fucking roster of women wrestling like that they have, and they're squandering it for names. Saraya.
Yep.
I don't understand. I don't want to see it go back on Britt. Like Britt's kind of like, like what Seth Rollins used to be. Like Britt can stand on her own without a title. Like she has that presence now. She has the promo. She has the ability to be in story without a title at this point. Like she's so homegrown and such a name in AEW. She doesn't need the belt. She doesn't. And they're missing opportunity. Like you should be able to tell women's stories without the fucking belt.
Exactly. And that is something that they have felt. I'll say this too, but for the most part, outside of maybe as far as the major promotions at the moment, because I have no knowledge of MLW, so I don't know, so I'm not going to comment. But outside of what we see every week on major promotions television, really maybe only NXT and Impact are doing good jobs with telling stories with women wrestlers where there's no belt involved.
Yeah.
SmackDown fails for the most part.
Oh yeah.
Raw failed.
Oh yeah.
Dynamite, all of them, they fail every single week. And again, obviously RH are doing something, but I haven't watched a lot of RH to really comment. That's why I ain't put them in there like that. So that takes us to this next match. We got the Guns versus the Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers and Hook and Orange Cassidy.
Hey.
What do you think of this match?
Man, it was a good match. It was a good story. I believe Ray Phoenix got hurt early on. I don't know if it's I don't know if it was part of the story or not. Because Penna ended up getting pinned.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bunch of fun spots. It was entertaining. I think on the predictions I wanted, Orange Hook to win.
Right.
And obviously it didn't happen. The Guns had a couple of cool, funny spots. They try to pin each other. They try to get each other in the ring, like tagged in, and they try to pin each other, which there's nothing against it in the rules, but the ref was like, no. It was great. A lot of good spots. Anytime you get the Lucha Brothers, Young Bucks, and then the Guns are very, very talented too. As much of their as easy as they are to hate, they're still talented.
I think there's one team that they have done a successful job with actually elevating and growing.
Yeah,
personally speaking.
Yeah. I mean, their title run was very random, but I think it definitely benefited them. And showed how they can take their characters and how they can just make them work. And like this Bullet Club Gold, transition, like they're so good. They're over the top. They're great. They're great at what they do. They're just easy to hate. Hook and Orange, they showed out. It was nice to see Hook kind of doing more.
Yeah.
Because obviously Hook had a bunch of like squash matches that he, ran through people, and then he had the thing with Jack Perry. Then obviously the shit with Jack Perry, we know what happened with that. So it just felt like there was no direction. So when Orange came up and they started doing their promos, like I thought it was amazing. Like it makes sense about their teaming up because they have that nonchalant. They both have like kind of the same gimmick. They don't really talk. They're very nonchalant.
Right.
They're very like, oh, let me snack on this. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. So I thought it was really, really interesting, and I really wanted them to run with it. The one people I didn't want to fucking win.
Exactly.
Won.
Yeah.
It's the Bucks. I'm getting sick and tired of it, man. Yeah, and this, I people can say what they want to fucking say, but these people put themselves in these positions. They book themselves to win. They do.
I don't disagree with you.
They booked themselves to win, and that's probably exactly why fucking CM Punk was pissed.
The fact that, and I want to say this about Omega, because Omega's been losing a lot lately, and I think storyline wise, that's what should happen. But the Bucks always find a way to come out on top.
Yeah.
And you look, I don't know if it is or isn't, but with them being EVPs, you cannot help but think that, hey, maybe they're throwing their weight around.
They're doing the thing that Cody specifically did not want to do when he came to AEW.
Right.
And they're just saying whatever. And they're trying to act like the innocent victims. And I'm sorry, but there are people who could be pushed and could benefit from having a title run. Like, you don't have to have a fucking rematch with FTR so early. You literally just fought them at All In. You literally just did.
Yep. That was a month ago.
Like, we do not need this again. As great as that matchup is, like, I'm getting tired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just getting tired of it. You know? So I don't know, man. Like, it's getting to the point. Like, and I know Kenny, like you said, like Kenny, I think is the opposite of them, right? Like, I genuinely think Kenny doesn't have an ego. You know, I think Kenny genuinely wants to put people over and like wants his dream match, and he'll lose his dream match. I think the Bucks can't live with having their dream match and losing.
I look at it this way. I think that Kenny doesn't feel like he has anything that he has to prove anymore. I feel like the Young Bucks always feel like they have to prove something.
Right.
Which is why they're in those positions.
Which is interesting to me, right? Like, obviously, you know, the greatest tag teams up for debate, you know, and it's like they're always in competition, it seems like.
Let me ask you this question, though. You bring up a good point with that. In some ways, I would say before AEW, that they were definitely in many people's conversations as far as one of the best, greatest tag teams ever. Have they somewhat tarnished their reputation with how they kind of play things in AEW?
As wrestlers, no.
Okay.
As human beings and as, you know, people in a higher position within a wrestling promotion, yes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think at a certain point in your career, you have an obligation to let go of your ego and put other people over.
Right.
You know, that's what Cody did. That's what Kenny's been doing. You know, I feel like CM Punk, you know, maybe CM Punk was in the same boat because he didn't really lose. You know what I mean? Like, he never lost when he was here. So maybe he was in the same boat. Or maybe he was building up like this win streak in order to give Ricky this big comeuppance and win. Because I honestly think that he genuinely liked Ricky. And I think that they were building something for Ricky.
Right.
So, and, you know, Ricky has a match later on in this event, but it was kind of like thrown together in the last week or two. You know, because things changed. So it really sucks. I don't, you know, I'm tired. I need a change in their tag team division, and I need it quick. Like, I'm getting tired of Lucha Bros versus Bucks, Bucks versus FTR, FTR versus Lucha Bros, FTR versus Aussie Open, like FTR versus Bullet Club, Bucks versus Bullet Club. I'm getting like, it's becoming repetitive. It's becoming very WWE like.
The tag team scene, definitely, especially since they moved the Acclaim to the trios. Yeah.
Yeah, since they did that, and then House of Black is trios. Like, I don't like, they're not building anybody else up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It would have been great to give it to Jay and fucking Juice. Someone different.
Entertaining as hell.
Like, why does the Young Bucks need to be 3-time, tag team champions?
Right.
When fucking Dark Order has never held it once.
Right.
I don't know. It's all ego at that point, in my opinion. Like, you let the shit breathe. A month ago, you could have let this shit go a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just have good matches and put other people over for a year, and then a year, another All In next year. Make it like your WrestleMania, and come back against FTR and have your fucking, your rubber match or what? I don't even think it was. I think that was a rubber match at fucking All In, and they lost.
Yep.
And maybe they think they're owed. They're like, oh, we just let you, have the rubber match. Now we think that we're owed something. I don't know. It's all speculation, obviously, from this point, but like, I don't know, like the writing's on the wall, kind of. But anyway, I digress. I'm pissed about that outcome. It was a great match, good spots. It was entertaining, just not the outcome I wanted. So,
yeah, I agree. Yeah. Speaking of the outcome we wanted, Shane versus Hangman.
I mean, Swerve.
I mean, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Swerve.
You got Shane Taylor on the mind. Yeah. Man, that was.
Well, he was Shane Strickland at one point in time, right?
Swerve Strickland.
What was his name in WWE?
I think it was Swerve. Wasn't it? Might be Shane. I might have lied. I can't remember.
I'm getting old
because they didn't fucking use them that much.
Right.
They didn't use them right. They put them in Hit Row, and then they disbanded Hit Row like 2 months later. But yeah, no, this was a great match. I mean, Swerve came out in that fucking dope ass jacket, man, like that fucking, like that muted gray and black, like just looking like a villain. And that's the shit. Like my wife said it all jump was like, that's the shit that Takeshita needs to be wearing, not the oversized leather jacket shit. Like this is the fit to be a heel, and it was just an amazing match, man. Like it was so great. Like I can't stand Adam Page.
Right.
Lord, I've said it before. I'm tired of the Elite. I'm tired. Like his promos are all the same. He has the same cadence throughout every fucking promo. I don't think he's the best on the mic. His character hasn't changed. It's not exciting.
Right. There's no change.
There's
That's
nothing.
the problem.
And it's just not exciting anymore. And like Swerve brought a little bit of a different dynamic to it and brought out a little bit more of like a crazy side of Adam, which I appreciated that. Like there was a little bit of like, he tried to stab Swerve in the hand with the fucking pin at the signing and things like that. Like it got a little intense, and that was good. I liked that. That showed a crack.
Right.
So I really liked this match. I liked the build up. I liked what it did to Adam. And I do like Adam in the ring. Like Adam's top notch in the ring, right?
I agree. I've never had an issue with that. It's all about character.
Yeah.
It's all about character work.
And like that, it was like they put on a fucking show. Like that was a close to a 5-star match. Like
I'm happy about that. Simply because I think that while we all wanted Adam to lose, I think this is one of those times where he still won in defeat because of how good of a showing he put on.
But at the same time, I think Swerve put on a show.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and like the thing is Swerve is the heel, right? Like the sadistic heel, right? Like the manipulative, sadistic heel. He's not trying to be any sort of over with the crowd.
Right.
But they're still cheering him on. They're still chanting him. There was still half Swerve and half Hangman chants throughout the entire match. Like both of them had a fucking amazing fucking showing. The fucking double stomp on the apron as like Paige was getting checked on by the doctors. Like it was just so good. And then you got Nana out there fucking, teaching white people how to have some kind of rhythm, saying, like I love the pairing. And I loved how, at the end, it was like a little bit of a heel shit. Nana got kicked out and threw his crown down and he clocked him. But Page still kicked out. So he had to do his finisher again. And then he won. But like, to me, that proves that Swerve, like that was a main event level match, in my opinion.
I agree.
like the build up, the story was there, like the time was there, like the spots were there, like that was a main event, and like to beat a former champion, and I won't say clean, right? Because he did cheat a little bit, but he didn't win from the cheat, like
Right.
he still kicked out after being hit with the thing, and he had to do a couple more things. So kind of was a clean win in a way. But also at the same time, Hangman fucking did a dead eye, put him in a dead eye on the steel steps. So I mean, both of them were using outside objects. So but yeah, no, it was great to see Swerve in action. It was great to see him get the push. And I hope it keeps going, man. I hope he eventually gets, a shot at something, the international or the TNT. I don't think the TNT. I think the TNT is going to be tied up for a little bit with what's been going on. But at least the international has nothing going on right now.
Right.
Ray Phoenix might be hurt.
Right.
They might put it up for another tournament style thing.
Right.
And I hope they push fucking Swerve to get this fucking thing. I hope they get it. So we'll see.
All right, we got still a couple more matches. Just had to run through this because I know we both got things to do.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta. This is a match that I knew was going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad Ricky won. I think that with this one, I think I've liked what they've done with Wheeler Yuta. I liked how, especially him being with BCC.
He's the whipping boy.
Yeah, he's a whipping boy, but he's had some really great matches.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of respects, he's really proven himself to be capable as far as being able to tell the story as well as being in the ring. So I say that to say he didn't need the win. Ricky needed the win. Wheeler's a very credible competitor. Yeah, it was kind of thrown together story, yada, yada, yada. But especially continuing with Ricky's momentum to hopefully wherever they get him, I think there's something need to happen. Yeah, we got some interference with Big Bill, but still, and I've told you, I've loved me some Ricky Starks since he was NWA TV champion. So I'm a big fan of Ricky Starks, and I'm glad that they're pushing him. They need to really push him to the moon.
Yeah. So I feel the same way, right? I don't like how they handled this because the story kind of came up last minute. But yet again, with BCC,
last minute, that's a running theme.
Yeah, BCC, I don't think you really need a big story because they just like to fight. They pick fights and they're just the fighting group. And they just want to see who's stronger, right? Mox came out. Mox was a great addition, obviously, to this commentary team. And it was just it was a good match.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel bad. Like, I understand, like, we both love Ricky Starks. I love Ricky Starks. I wanted to get pushed. He was going to have a hell of a push with CM Punk. Mm-hmm. Shit happened. And now, I don't know, they're kind of floundering what to do with Ricky, I think, in my opinion. But, I feel bad for Yuta because yet again, he's the whipping boy. He's the whipping boy of the BCC, but he's also the whipping boy of putting people over, and like always losing. Because I feel like Yuta hasn't really won a singles match in a while.
Yeah, he hasn't. Since he lost the RH title, he really did not.
Yeah, and he also always takes the loss whenever BCC's in a group thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks that he's put in that position.
It does.
Maybe that's going to be a part of a storyline. Maybe he's going to get fed up. Maybe he's going to get pissed off, or what? Maybe he becomes underdog and gets the only gold in the group, and the group gets mad. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things they could do with it, but like they have to establish something. You know what I mean? They have to. There has to be some kind of inkling of like dissent somewhere.
Yeah, there
has to be a crack somewhere in the group that does not like Yuta or vice versa, but like with their gimmick, I don't know how you do that.
Right.
Like, oh, you lose, it's good. Like you still learn something. You fought, like they don't get mad when people lose.
Right.
So it's very interesting on how they could do that.
Win or loss is all about the fight.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. He put his heart on the line.
Right.
But great match.
Yep.
Let's see what they do with Ricky.
Right. Next up, speaking of BCC, we have, this match. Bryan Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr.
This was the tantric sex that Moxley called it. This is from them reading their tantric sex books. Moxley wild. Yeah, no, this was an amazing match.
This was everything we hoped for.
Yeah. And Nigel and Moxley were standing up, screaming, like giving it all. Like this was just such a good back and forth, obviously technical wrestling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like obviously storytelling, both of them want to be the best technical wrestler in the world. I think didn't American Dragon train him when he was younger or some shit? There was something tied in like when Zack Sabre Jr. was younger. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Either he was trained or he was the inspiration for Zach getting into wrestling. Right. One or the other. Can't remember. But it was just such a good match. And this was very like I like that. I trained BJJ. So I love when matches take this different route of submissions, and seeing how they play off each other, how they do the reversals. Because it's theater, right? It's play. It's partner balancing. It's all these other things. It's not BJJ transitions when they're very kind of far and few between. Like they can just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So it was really cool to see all like different ways they were like doing their pins, doing their submissions, doing their rolls, getting out. All their fucking like it was great. I was thoroughly entertained. And obviously like the Busakai knee won it, like he didn't submit him. So I mean there's still a story to be told there because he was not submitted.
Right.
So I think it still leaves it open, which was a good call in my opinion.
I agree.
But yeah, one hell of a match, man. That was great. And like these are the matches I think that Bryan Danielson wants. As he's like kind of possibly ending his kind of hold to full-time wrestling.
All right, understood. All right, next up we talk about stories, and this is when it actually has a story behind it. And didn't feel thrown together. Don Callis family versus Chris Jericho and the Golden Lovers. Let me tell you, I love the match, but it was the way it ended. I'm like, this is how you do it with Sammy pinning Jericho. Like, this is how you do it, man. Like I like what they're doing with Takeshita. I like this whole Don Callis family thing, and I like what they're doing with it. Again, I'm not familiar with Takeshita outside of AEW, so I have no idea what he did anywhere else. I only know of him from this, and I really enjoy what they're doing with him as a wrestler who, to me, was a clean slate when I first saw him.
Yeah, Takeshita, man. And he just got the look to it, right? He's a pretty tall dude, got, a little thick, and he's an amazing athletic wrestler, and I think he actually has a singles win over Kenny back when he was still a face, I think.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And so, like, there's a lot of story there. Obviously, this is great. I thought it was really weird to have Jericho and Kenny team up. It just didn't make sense. I was just like, he's going to screw him over. Like, he's going to screw him over and then end up going to Don Callis anyway. Like, that's what I was thinking the whole time I was watching this match. And it didn't happen. There was a lot of good spots. There was a lot of, storytelling, obviously, Sammy not really wanting to wrestle Jericho at first. You had Murder Ibushi show up, which was great. And yeah, I mean, anything Kenny does and touches is amazing. I fucking love Kenny. Kenny is such an amazing performer. I think one of the funniest moments, though, has to go. I can't remember if Moxley said it. Mox said it in this match or the prior match, but they mentioned Kenny fighting Demetrius Johnson on Tuesday for the Twitch. Was it Tekken? Mortal Kombat? I can't remember. It was one of the fighting games. And then Moxley goes, "Wait, what? Kenny's fighting Demetrius Johnson on Dynamite?" And they're like, no, on Twitch on Tuesday. And he's like, "Oh shit." He was like, "I thought you meant Dynamite." I was about to say, what? I didn't know that. And it had me dying. But anyway, back to the match. It's great storytelling. Sammy, I don't know what they have to do with Sammy. Sammy is getting like the Dom, the dirty Dom treatment. Like people just love to hate him. So like There's no way he's gonna be a face. They had to turn him heel again.
Right.
Like there's just no fucking way. Right. So this works in my opinion. I still like it, just like Dom. He just has that face I want to punch. And this works out. And like to get him to pin Jericho too, that just puts more heat on him. And that's great. That's perfect. That's perfect fucking storytelling right there. Yep. And yeah, I'm curious to see what the Don Callis family does. I'm curious to see if Will Ospreay still shows up on a weekly basis with the Don Callis family, or if that was like a one-off thing. And I'm curious to see what they do. Like, are they going to be a tag team? Are they going to be a trio? Is they going to be a full faction? Like, what's going to happen there? Because they got the win.
Right.
So there has to be some kind of momentum and like further plot to this all. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be.
Right. All right. So we like that. Next up, FTR versus Aussie Open for the AEW tag titles. What do you think of this match?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything from them. Like, it was still a great match, but I feel like at some point when you see these matches over and over, no matter how far apart they are, they feel kind of structured the same.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just like watching, a reboot of a you love. And I love their matches, but like you get so many reboots and they try to do a couple of new spots, but it's still structured the same.
Right.
And there wasn't a lot of story built up. I feel like every time they get FTR in these positions of having titles, there's not a good story.
I agree. I think that is something, in my opinion, that we've seen, because even at All In, it was them and Bucks, but was it because of a tag team elimination or something like that?
Yeah, the Bucks won.
Yeah. So it wasn't even like any real sort of storyline that going on. Well, wow, that is a sort of match you won at a humongous pay-per-view like that in a stadium.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it was okay. They won the Fatal 4-Way or whatever it was, and okay, FTR again. What was it, the third time they faced each other?
Yeah, it's like the rubber match, I think.
Yeah. So it goes back to what we were saying before, how they need to really do something with the tag division to make it more exciting, to really inject some life into it.
Yeah.
Because while we love FTR, we're not getting any stories. We're not getting any, really players coming up that we as consumers, as people who love wrestling, really say, yeah, that's somebody we want to see a title, or we think there would be a good opposition for them. I think maybe even I love the Kingdom's gimmick. I'm thinking of Revival. Anyway, who MJF beat?
Revival.
Love their gimmick. Yeah.
Not Revival. Fucking what the fuck's her name? Is it the Revival? I can't remember.
I know.
I'm talking about white boy dreads.
Yeah, I'm getting, but I love the gimmick. I love the stage presentation and everything, and I liked the vignettes they were putting on in preparation for that match. I really enjoyed those. I'm not seeing that sort of presentation when it comes to the tag team scene in general with AEW. I mean, we got the Acclaim that we're doing that.
Yeah.
But we don't have that really from anybody else. Not that everybody needs to be doing these kind of spooky vignettes, but they are not forging their own identity as tag teams. I think that's really what it is.
No,
to me.
I agree. Their gimmick definitely it's hit or miss with me because like I don't know how I should feel because it's very Bray Wyatt family.
It is, yeah.
Down to the music, down to white boy with dreads. Down to this message of being kind of existential a little bit and kind of deep with kind of threatening it's very carbon copy.
Yes.
And I don't know if I should be like, man, this is paying homage and they're doing great with the vignettes and everything because they are good vignettes, and like you said, like we don't get those for the tag team, and those are nice, those are cool, they're different. You know what I mean? That tells it's more ways to tell a story.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I hope they do that more. And, I hope maybe they get a chance to come into whatever, future tag team tournament and maybe push them a little bit more. Because they were pretty entertaining in the ring. Like they had a good presence about them. It's just like I said, I still have this internal conundrum in my head of like whether or not this is stealing the Wyatt family's gimmick or not.
I agree. All right, last match, which I think everybody, without knowing what was to happen next, was like, why is this the main event? So we had Christian Cage versus Darby Allin, 2 out of 3 falls for the TNT Championship, and we saw Christian Cage win. I will say this though, I so love what Christian Cage is doing.
Yeah,
I just think back when they as in WWE brought him back, Royal Rumble 2020 or whatever it was,
2021.
Yeah. It seems so long ago. It was only 2 years ago. Goodness. And they did nothing with that.
Him. Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm just like, why? Like the missed opportunity they had with him with Captain Charisma. And I've been like, it's weird because I think I've watched him WWE. I watched him in Impact. It's like I've seen this. I'm going to gush over Christian for a second. Let me finish this up. I really love what they're doing with him, and it really helps us to solidify how good he is, because I do not think that people talk about him in that same sort of reverence of being one of those people who've been around a couple decades now, who is just that damn good.
Yeah.
And this is if this is anybody else with this title, no one would have cared.
Yeah.
But the match itself was okay.
I think Christian kind of fell in Edge's shadow, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A little bit. They pushed Christian back in the day as well. But I don't know. I think somewhere along the line, WWE just invested a little bit more into Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. I think that's kind of, and same thing, like, because I think Edge debuted like the year after Christian came back, right? Or was it the same year actually? Because they were both in the same ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christian's great. I love him. Like he plays the character in the media. He plays the character online. This whole like father figure. I'm gonna be your dad. Like I'll be your stepdad. Like it's great. I fucking love it. The match was amazing.
Yeah.
Fucking Darby using the turtleneck against Christian to get the
that
first pin. That shit had me dying. It had me dying. And Christian's just like having the shit like fucked up. Like people are doing the Beavis thing where like I am Cornelio. Like, and I fucking died. I was like, that's great. But yeah, it was great. And then obviously we saw as the show went on, Christian got a pin, fucking threw Darby against like fucking body slammed his ass like off the apron onto the floor, onto the steel steps, man. I don't know how Darby fucking still walks.
No,
that shit is just,
he does.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Luchasaurus comes out, tries to fuck shit up. So Nick Wayne comes out and helps out fucking Darby and then picks up the belt and is going to smack, Christian and ends up smacking fucking, fucking shithead, Darby. And then Sting comes out and then it's just a fucking clusterfuck after Christian pinned Darby because they're beating the shit out of Darby. And that's when, of course, what we all were waiting for, the vignette came up in the fucking car, which apparently Darby directed. But yeah, Edge came out and had the new recording of Beth saying, you think you know him instead of you think you know me. Because apparently that was trademarked. That snippet was trademarked.
How was that trademarked, but WWE let the trademark lapse for Rated R Superstar?
Right. And the song.
Apparently I was actually listening to Edge today talk about that. WWE didn't own the song, like his friend wrote that song or somebody he met, and he got the rights to use that. So WWE licensed the rights, so they don't own the song.
Huh.
So I was like, oh, that was
Alter,
surprising.
what's the band name? Alter Bridge or something like that, or
I
Alter?
forget.
I
I
forget the
don't,
name.
in the interview I saw, I don't think he referenced the name. He referenced the actual person. But somebody in WWE needs to be fired for letting that lapse. Like, who did that?
Yeah,
Like,
right,
for
right,
real,
right,
like,
right.
what idiot are you?
Yeah,
But it
rated
was
R superstar, baby.
it
It's
was
gonna be.
exciting.
It
I'm
was.
I'm interested to see.
He looks happy, man.
Yes.
He looks happy, and like I
Yeah.
said that like a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago when we were talking about that when he had his last match with Sheamus.
Yeah.
I was like, this can't be the end of Edge.
Right.
You know, you can't go. I'm sorry, you can't go out with Sheamus. I love Sheamus, but that is not like an ending retirement
Not a
match.
final farewell match, yeah.
And I could sense like my man just wanted dream matches.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight who he wanted to fight, and they were just not giving. Like they had nothing for him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
that's what he said. He said they didn't have anything for him. And you know what though? I'm not upset with that. I understand with WWE, you're trying to push on new talent, you're trying to push new talent, you're trying to make new superstars. There's going to be less for somebody like Edge to do, less for him to factor in their plans. I get that. I understand. It's kind of how the nature of the business works, irregardless of it. But I am excited from the aspect of this will be the first time in damn near 30 years almost where he can do something that he wants to do.
Yeah.
As a performer. Like this is the first time in 2+ decades he can do what he wants to do. And I think that for the older wrestlers who've been around for a while, AEW represents a bit of freedom and maybe not so much creative control, but it's not that same corporate structure of WWE or now TKO Holdings or whatever.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely. One thing before we go. One dream match for Adam Copeland in AEW. Pick one. What is yours?
If Sting was in better shape, I would say Sting. But the Sting that we have now, I don't know how much of a dream match I would say I'm trying to think of somebody who is like he is literally never faced, because a lot of the cats that like I like in AEW like that are people I know already that he's run across in WWE. You know, him versus Okada would be fire.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. The Rainmaker versus the Rated R fucking superstar.
That's a pay-per-view headline match, like straight up.
Yeah, and like I don't want to go with the obvious Kenny Omega because that has to happen.
Yeah,
right?
That has to happen.
It has to happen. I think him versus fucking Joe.
That's right. That would be amazing. Him and Samoa Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a fucking amazing
just the
match.
mic game alone.
Yeah. The promo work going back and forth. I think that would be fucking top tier, man.
That would.
And like I think he would just have so much fucking fun with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm excited for it. You know, we kind of all knew it was coming, right? But it's still exciting to see. You know, makes people forget about CM Punk. I haven't. I still love my CM Punk, and there's callbacks to Raw yesterday.
I heard
the puppet. The puppet. All right, who cares? We're gonna talk about that in the later show.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about the next show. But Sean, where can I find you? What's coming up, real quick?
Then you should find me at SMongoldVO on Instagram, Twitter. And then obviously we have Horgasm coming up. You can go on the Eventbrite and look up Horgasm Part 2. It's at DC Brow here in Washington, DC. Pick up your tickets. VIP just sold out. Yeah, come have a spooky time and see, titties, ass, and, sexy shit and spooky shit.
All right, sounds good to me. Webstyle.com, Webstyle pretty much everywhere on social media, _Webstyle on TikTok. Speaking of the lovely thing Sean just spoke about, I have my interview with Suki Singh coming up. By the time this drops, it'll be up. So it's a main interview. Then a couple days later, you get a kind of where she asked me some questions interview as well. And I got some other interviews coming up as well as just podcasting and, normal stuff. But you'll hear Nerds Rule the World, KayFabeyBaby, NRW Ring Generals Podcast. We're out and count it out. 1, 2.
You come in my face, I'm gonna fight you.
Well, you're not gonna bust a nut anytime we're in the ring.
I'm gonna get off by cranking your knob just a little beyond the breaking point.
When I get my hands on you, I'm gonna eat your ass like a pot of collard greens, baby.
I'm gonna stretch his ass like it's never been stretched before.
You can hide behind that commissioner stuff just so long until I jerk a knot in your ass.
And if you don't think I'm big enough, then you grab a hold of me, and you'll know that I'm growing, my man. Within your hands, I will get as big as I need to be to do the job on you.
All right, just jerk Helmsley off.
There's one part of our bodies that's soft, and it ain't soft all the time, if you catch my meaning.
I'm gonna come on you like nobody's ever come on you before. Just you and I getting it on like two men should do.
That's it, right?
Corey boy, and I'm coming hard.